You lot, raise your glasses. This one's for Paul, Phil, and the Paranormal Soul Brother! Paul's got a torch and a trade he's built. Swears that he felt a cold hand on his bum. Phil's in the kitchen with a GoPro helmet, shouting, "Come at me, spirit, you cowardly scum!" Soul Brothers burning the bargain bin sage, reading vibes like a busted old gauge. Ghost wankers, ghost wankers, three brave idiots and a busted van. Ghost wankers, chasing bad vibes round the caravan. If your house feels weird and your dog won't stay, they'll rock up drunk and scare it away. Ghost wankers, best worst hunters in the whole damn land. Oh, yeah.
I want a moment of silence, maybe just like a minute, because a very great man, Nick Pope, died, and he died yesterday. Nick Pope, you probably have seen him on Ancient Aliens. He's been on on History Channel's Greatest Mysteries. Just a great guy. I mean, Tim Shorts, who's been on Ancient Aliens, he was all broken up about it. I used to talk to Tim all the time. I almost got I almost got Nick Pope on this show, but he got so busy. I mean, he's on demand. Everybody wanted a piece of him. But if I send him a message, if I was doing some research on an article about UFOs, man, I could send something to Nick, and Nick would respond just like that. I mean, you talk to other people, these ghost hunters on TV shows. I mean, they're all snooty and everything else, but Nick Pope was down to earth. So a moment of silence, 1 minute, please. Amen. Nick, we love you. We know you're out there watching over us, so you're a good guy. It's a great loss. Tim Shorts has his latest book out. Here it is. It's called The Persistence of Ghosts. I have 2 articles in here. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get things started off. Zandy's came up with some interesting stuff. So I'm going to start it off with the Paranormal Soul Brother. What is it you dug up there, Zandy?
It's something I heard back like in the 90s, but it's kind of coming out again recently, is the religious figure, if you want to say, political figure, Simeon Toko, which is his African name, but people know him by Simeon Toko. And who Simeon Toko was, some people will say he's a prophet. Some people say it's a myth. But I'll get into the things he did and what happened to him, and then the proof or lack of proof. But it's going to be a really good story. So Simeon Toko, born February 25th, he was born in the Congo, and at that time it was a lot of starvation. It was all kind of malaria things. No kids, nobody was making it out alive. I mean, it wouldn't even be a place you would want to have a child for sure. And you got to understand, the Congo had King Leopold, who was, he had the rubber trees, and to do that, he would have the Africans climb the trees, and he used them to gather the rubber. But if they didn't do it, they got tired, they would get killed, shot, get their hands chopped off. And that happened to the tune of like 10 million people. So it was a lot of, a lot of anguish and unrest. So, and the reason why I have to set that up, because the prophets thereof that came to save them or were part of this whole story is because of this oppressive period. Leopold is one of the most, King Leopold It's one of the most oppressive things that ever happened to the African population. So what happened in 1921? There was a messenger born. His name was Simon Kabunga, and so Simon Kabunga would be like John the Baptist is to Jesus, uh, and he actually did miracles himself. He actually had babies that were dead for 3 days, brought them back to life. Um, did miracles of curing people of deafness, blindness. I mean, and he had a lot of witnesses. He lived from 1921 to he died, I believe, in 51. But the thing of it was is that he he was the first person to alert the Belgian and Portuguese and the Belgians people that there was somebody that could potentially politically usurp them, because whether they knew about the miracles or not, this guy would have a lot of followers and momentum with what he was saying, and he was a Christian. I mean, he believed in Greek Jesus, and he was like Orthodox straight, no magic, no voodoo, nothing that, just a Christian. And so the momentum he gained, he would go into the middle of the street and heal people all day, sun up to sun night. Anybody would come, spiritual affliction, talk to him. And so he got basically put in jail for that, because you had, well, I guess they would call it Illuminati now, but you have the church, Salazar, basically have his police come and get him. So he was put in jail. And as soon as he got in there, they put him in salt water. They were trying to find out what was up with his body. They put him in salt water as another form of torture. But he withstood that for 30 years. But while he was in jail, now you have Simon, who was born, Simeon, not Simon, Simeon, who was born in Angola. And when he was born, he had smallpox on his face. And there's a verse in Isaiah 52:14, which talks about a man being so marred than any other man, and that it basically kind of took other people by back. And so when he was born, there was a gentleman in his village, I believe his name is Kafran. He had like a vision that there was going to be the baby born that was going to actually help the people of Angola. And so
that was a priest, right? That wasn't even a native Angolan. That was a priest from outside of a Belgian priest that had that vision.
And so he had a vision, and he wanted to look for him, right? But when he found him, he found him in Angola. But when he found him, he had the smallpox on his face, or the chicken pox, and he was like, "No, this can't." He started having doubts too. He was like, "This can't be the person." But so that was a start. He had a rough start, but where he really started gaining momentum, he always was looked on as a special child with that history, and I believe the verse of Samuel told about him coming as well, and there was a couple other verses they tried to cite in the Bible that said he was coming. But he, as he got older, he wasn't that fiery, and it's not like he wanted this mission. He had a couple of times he would go in the forest and he would meditate and he would do things like that, and he would get signs. But I think the turnaround, and Phil, you can back me up on this. In 1949, he was invited with Gaspar and Chipende to a Baptist conference to speak, and those are only three people that were praying: Simeon, Chipende, and Gaspar. And so when he prayed, he did this particular prayer where he said, the Holy, Lord, my people are suffering. I'm asking you to come help. Did you not hear my prayer when I said it? He said he called out to the Father like it was his father. So they marked on that, but people were drawn to his praying even at that point. And that was one thing. Every time he would pray, he would gather momentum. It was something electrical about him. But the first real propagation of his faith and what he was about came July 25th. July 25th, 1949. He had 35 members. And what you got to remember is he had a 12-member choir that was so famous that every time he sang, they were getting followers. And that was another thing that was bugging the heck out of people. They didn't understand the Holy Spirit or whatever it was he had. But on July 25th, 1949, he invoked the Holy Spirit. He said that same prayer, and he said, "Didn't you hear me when I said that prayer? It seemed like you didn't hear me, My people need the help. And witnesses in the room. There was actually one gentleman that wasn't touched, and he was the one that wrote down most of it. He was saying that the spirit touched people. They were speaking in tongues. There was angel. There was light. There was these different things going on, and the people were so inspired. So they went out and they started spreading the word, like for real, like, hey, this shit is real, And so the followers he was gathering and started getting on people's radar. That was first, like how he started really getting on high councils of those days radar. But when he would sing, he would get hundreds of followers every time. And then it got so much that he had like 10,000 followers, and they were like, well, man, he might try to take everything over. So at that point, this is when he started, not just them, but they started trying to kill him. And I feel,
just before that, though, he was actually kicked out of the church. So he had become more popular than the church itself, especially with
right.
So he got kicked out of the church, and that was, I believe, 1949 when he formed his own following. That meeting that you spoke of, that actually formed. He became so popular that he became more popular than the church in Angola at the time, which started with the Belgian church initially. That's what every colonist comes in, and they bring their own religion. Well, here was a native son of Africa who came up, and he literally was a messiah to his people, and he was incredibly charismatic. He did have, the scars of smallpox that people saw as a biblical sign, and initially because of the choir, which was famous. But not only that, he was a healer. He performed healings, Well,
see, that's the point I was going to get to. The miracles that he did, that came after Simon Kabunga, were greater. Like for instance, one of his most famous miracles that really sparked a lot of things was Insignia. You remember Insignia, right? Do you remember his miracle of Insignia?
I just wrote about it today.
Okay, Insignia was the little kid that the parents, it was a little kid that these parents had tried everything, and they pretty much had given up. They thought the child was going to die. Nobody could cure him. And everybody said, hey, well, Simeon Toko is healing. He's been healing people, raising people from the dead. I mean, people's eyes, he goes and talks over them, and the eyes just open up from after being dead. When we're talking thousands of witnesses, we're not talking about and the thing is if you're thinking African people are like bamboo hut people and, people that just drank or laid around the sun, you're not understanding that in the 15th century, when people first came to Africa, they are already following Mosaic laws. They had strict laws and were walking with no blemish, like they could walk like God. Very, very mature. So, you can scratch that out. It's not like they didn't know what they were seeing.
Zane,
yeah. Yes, sir.
This guy, he was a faith healer, correct? Okay. And one of the,
yes. Well, I wouldn't call him a faith. He said that he was more than a faith healer, but healing was like a product of what he could do. Because, for instance, when they would try to assassinate him, we get to the assassination. But what were we gonna say, Paul?
I was when you're talking about one of his greatest miracles. They were saying they chopped him up in small pieces.
Yeah, let's get to that. I was setting it up. Okay, so because he was doing these miracles like what Phil was talking about. He got on the popes. He got on Salazar's. They had secret police, and he probably knew this stuff was going to happen because he would tell some people to watch at times, like what was going to happen. But one of the first incidents is they came and got him. So between being shot in the head by a professional hitman, and slaughtered, between being chopped up, the hit police, they were paid. The Belgian came and they have two farmers to put a hit on him. And he was chopped up by like a lawnmower, a big giant sit-on lawnmower that chopped everything. And they saw him come back to life and regenerate right there in front of their eyes. That scared the heck out of him. But also, he was drowned. They drowned him. He was in a plane. They were going to kick him out of plane in midair. He stopped the fucking plane as far as the eyewitness is concerned. The priests, they all start praying. Everybody abandoned the mission of trying to kick him out because he stopped the plane in midair. So another thing, he had an army. He told people to understand when he got put in jail, I don't know if you remember this, Phil. He had he had 3,000 soldier army. He had 3,000 people with him, and it was too much for one jail. So they put him in Ofitra and they put him in Ngondo. Okay. And in Ngondo, they had these assassins and people that eat, they're cannibalists and everything. So they were the ones that chopped him up, ate him, did like stew, did all that stuff with him, and he still appeared to them. So they were spooked.
And they got sick. They got sick from eating them.
Yeah, they got sick from eating them. And when they put him in the prisons, when they had these two prisons, he told the guard, Perot, the guard was named Perot. He said, Perot, look, man, you think this shit is funny? He said, by the time this is over, you're gonna be carrying my bags. You're gonna carry my bags. If I ever get deported from here, because they were gonna try to deport him from the jail. He said, if I ever get deported from here, that's it for you. So the day he did get deported, Perot died of a heart attack. They said like a bullet shot hit you, like he got shot from. And so then he made the prediction, another Sibylline prediction. 10 years later, he said, "Hey, listen, you know what? Congo is going. Belgium's going to get the hell out of Congo in 10 years, no more and no less." And so after those hits and different things that happened to him, like we said, so shot in the head, assassin, slaughtered, limbs cut up. Drowned, cut up by lawnmower basically, and he was cut up by the assassin. Still reassembled. When they drowned him, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, but also too, they compare him with Jesus, all the miracles that he did,
the Son of Man.
and he's
right.
he's very similar to Gregory Rasputin, the Russian mystic and faith healer. He was a consultant and confidant of Nicholas II, Emperor of Russia. And they gave him enough cyanide in his food and his wine to kill 3 bull elephants. And he walked away from it. They shot him. They shot him in the head. They shot him in the back. Mm-hmm. And he kept on walking. Then they beat the hell out of him, blunt force trauma, and the only thing that killed him, he fell into the freaking pond and he died of drowning.
Right. Now that shit was crazy. It was a lot of similarities. Did you hear about the one when Simeon Toko took on the Belgian army?
Yeah, and beat them.
Okay. You go ahead, Phil. Tell a story when he took on the Belgian army about the fallen angels that came, the little strong dwarfs throwing shit. 5-ton trucks. Go ahead, tell them, please.
Yeah, well, according to witnesses, that he had not single-handedly, but summoned angels and forces of heaven, literally, to defeat the Belgian army, which had basically colonized Angola and the Cameroon Mountains for I don't know how many generations. And we saw, you mentioned how cruel they were to the people. People, if you don't know the history of how Africa was enslaved and just exploited, Angola was one of the worst. The Congo was definitely one of the worst, the most horrifying things you can imagine. And the Belgians were the most cruel. And so he was the guy that literally freed his people from Belgian rule. And according to, you want to call it folklore, myth, but there were supposedly people who witnessed this. He brought angels down in order to do this, including they called them dwarves.
They called them dwarves. They said they were muscular, but dwarves. But they said extremely strong because one of them picked up a 5-ton truck and threw it at, and just obliterated some cat.
Flipped a 5-ton military truck.
And they shot at him. Then they couldn't. And when they shot at him, it didn't shit happen either.
No, some amazing.
Thousands
of late 1940s.
This was in the early 50s.
Early 50s. He died in 1984. This is in the 50s. Like 49, he did. It was a 6-month period when most of this momentum and these miracles were happening. A well-documented period. And see, here's the thing: is when they rewrite history, and the victor gets to do that, you could make people seem like they're dumb and they know what they're talking about. But anybody that looks closer, you see, look, man, he was so dangerous. Even his messenger, the spirituality, it was beyond supernatural. I mean, they felt it. And he said that there's going to be other people like me. So you got to understand, Amu Bakari, Mbaka. There's another guy, Mbaka, Amud Mbakari Mbaka. that guy, but he wasn't affiliated with them religiously, but he did the same thing. So
That was his final warning, though. His final warning was that they tried to kill him over and over and did kill him, and he supposedly returned. He was then known as the man who would not die, another Saint Germain type of thing, except this guy was actually murdered, slaughtered, eaten, burned. They supposedly took his body and encapsulated it into like steel vaults, flew it to all corners of the earth, incinerated him. He still showed up like 2 days later, telling them, listen, you're not going to get rid of me, but since you don't want me around, I'm leaving. But but there's going to be people just like me coming back, and when they come back, you're not getting rid of them.
And then
that was his final warning. And he didn't die. He disappeared without a trace.
Yeah, some people say, and if you look in Wikipedia, it'll say, "Oh, he died of a natural illness," but they don't say what any. Yeah, yes, but the thing is that he has a lot of witnesses, and the propaganda seems to be the lie, not the witnesses. If you really chip on it, I mean, it's just too many. Matter of fact, that's why they had to come get his ass, because there was too many people seeing this shit. They're saying, "Hey, listen," even the people that were trying to get him killed started doubting, because you had people being converted. The sniper that tried to kill him, that did one of the best killers from the Vatican, the dude that went to kill him, it became a follower and a believer and actually was converted. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, this story is by far the most amazing, because I've watched a lot of stuff, and I'm definitely a history nerd, and I had not heard of this guy, and there's been a lot of movies and documentaries about African leaders who rose up and were assassinated summarily by CIA or the French or whoever, because and then they would always be replaced by somebody who was in the pocket of some colonial power. This guy seemed like he was along those lines, except this guy has like John Henry-esque, larger than life, and then some. Almost like they've even called him Anunnaki, like he was from another planet type, delivered here.
And he believed in Anu. Anu, this guy got Anu. Right. Anu, he was more associated with Anu than say Osiris.
The stories are incredible.
I've learned about him in the book of lists, and there's a list that they had in there that says people who survived an assassination attempt and came back. And he was on the list with Rasputin.
So here's the thing that's blowing my mind is when you think of stories like this, you're thinking like Salem witch trials, where people are seeing things that have never been seen before. And then all of a sudden we're talking, 70 years ago this happened? That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
There's pictures of this guy. There's actual photograph pictures.
Oh, here's the other thing. Phil, not to interrupt you. We forgot the most important part. Okay, Belgium really at this point, the people, when they started doubting their own thing, hey, could this guy be real? They sent the Majestic 12. They sent the alien doctors, the people that they would send to dissect aliens. They sent those guys to take him in a hospital and basically dissect, do a living autopsy. So they had him in one room. They took his damn heart out. They took his heart out.
Oh yeah.
Other room, and they came back in the damn room. They came back in the damn room, and he's sitting up, and he's like, he wanted, basically give my shit back, give me my heart back. So he got his heart back, and you can see the scar. He goes around showing the scar.
Yeah.
There's a picture of him holding his shirt up like this and showing the scar.
He I don't know. He says, "Give me back my heart." Yeah. It was. They took the heart out, and he says, "Give me back my heart." Yeah, that's crazy. But also too, you're talking about a real photo of him. Yeah, he shows his scar right here. But also too, they have a real photo of Rasputin.
That's true.
There is. Mm-hmm. The difference between Rasputin and this guy is that Rasputin was a villain. He was Rasputin was, he cuddled up to the royal family, mainly to the wife of the Tsar, and he had hypnotic eyes, and he was able to calm down the child who was, was it Nicholas or whoever the boy was who had the bleeding. He was
Oh yeah.
And so he was able to calm that boy down and stop the bleeding. And so therefore the Tsarina, or whoever the hell her name was, he was in her good graces, and the population thought he had too much influence over. On top of that, he screwed everything on two legs,
Yes.
and so yeah,
I'm not mad at that.
Hey,
well, I'm
one of
not
his
mad at it
most
either, but for that time period, he just made a lot of enemies and nobody liked him. And so, yeah, the royals, including one prince, just set out to kill him. So
hey,
this guy was an actual leader who did, in fact, free his people from, from the Belgians who were, I mean, just
Yeah, Simeon
horrific.
Toko actually
and
did. He
also
told him, he
too,
made a prediction. He said, not 10 years, no more than 10 years or no less than you will be out of my country. You will be out. He made
and
that
also
prediction. And yeah.
and also too, Rasputin started off as a good guy and became a bad guy. He's just like one of those
Oh,
wrestlers. Yeah. And there was a time where he's walking down this road. He sees his cart with four beautiful women. He looks at them, and his stare makes the girls take off their clothes, and he's having sex with all four women.
And look at a picture of the guy and tell me how he was able to pull that off.
Charles Manson. Charles Manson was an ugly dude, and he pulled it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, but he could sing. He was a singer. It was. You got to
Beast
think
Boys.
it was the
he could talk for
'60s.
his. Rasputin didn't even have to talk.
Buddy at the stare. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
my
true.
Oh my God. But that is a great story. But that guy was something else. But I guess we can move on to the next person. We have
Thank you.
Sage Gato. Yes, thank you very much, Paranormal Soul Brother. That was a good story.
Thank you.
Sage Gato, what has been happening with you? What's new with you? Tell us something.
All right. Well, yeah, a whole lot's been actually going on. I've been recently taking a deep dive into some ancestral stuff, going through. I'm kind of fortunate and unfortunate. I have two trees I had to go through because I was adopted at birth. So I am trying to find biological records, but also at the same hand, I'm building a tree based off of my current family. And I mean, it just took off. It's been something that's been driving me crazy. But one thing that popped up recently, which piques my interest in the Civil War, was a four times great grandfather I have was actually part of the Pennsylvania Cavalry during the Civil War. And when I researched him, I found actually his muster roll. And when he enlisted, and the records are like not exactly accurate because one says he was 18 in 1865. The other birth record says that he was born in 1823, so that would have put him in his 30s come time the Civil War, if not later. So I'm like kind of like back and forth on like which ones are more accurate. But regardless of, he was a member of the 16th Pennsylvania Cavalry, and the 16th Pennsylvania was mustered into service in 1862 and saw every single engagement from their muster to the end of the war. And I was like mind blown because I was reading through the rap sheet of their locations and engagements, and it quite literally listed every single place that the Army of the Potomac moved through that entire 3-year period, including the Battle of Gettysburg right here in my native Pennsylvania. So I just found that mind blowing, and I reached out to my uncle, who's also in relation to this ancestor. They share the same grandparents. I asked them about him, if they know about him, heard about him, anything, and he told me as a kid his grandparents actually had Jacob's canteen that was struck by a mini ball during one of the battles, and actually ended up saving his life. And that canteen actually stayed in the family until it was donated sometime probably in the early 1900s, late 1900s to the Soldiers and Sailors Museum here in Pittsburgh. So I was like, that's absolutely incredible. And we just recently decided we're going back to Gettysburg this fall. So I'm going to take the trip through the battlefield and see if I can find the 16th Pennsylvania monument, because I know there's one out there.
That's very cool.
That is awesome, Sage.
Have you seen some of
We
the,
got about 5 minutes.
Have you seen some of the footage of the living Confederate soldiers that they took in the 1930s? Because there were some of them still alive then.
Yeah. I mean, there's records of them like living up into the 1950s, even at the latest.
Yeah. I know the last widow of one lived like all the way until like, it was like 1960s or 70s even.
Yeah.
She was like 14 when she married one of them or something crazy like that, and the age difference was ridiculous. But I think it's that I've seen 2 interviews where you can hear the voice of these guys talking, and it was done in the 40s, I think. and even their manner of speaking is just it's a little slower, more proper. You can tell they're from another time, but it's wonderful to have that window into the past, because we have no idea what George Washington sounded like, or anybody from his time period. But we're lucky enough to be able to hear what actual, somebody from the 1860s really, sounded like.
Absolutely.
Pretty
And it's
awesome.
crazy because they love to embellish their stories. There's things that happen, and then 5 years from that moment, it's, oh, you remember I did this, 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 and this, and then 10 years from then, it's, oh, I did this, 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 and this. And, it just keeps growing, and it just makes you wonder how many of these stories are legitimate to the actual moment. But one thing that called me into my mind of the Civil War, and I don't know if any of you have ever heard this story before, but the colonel of the 20th Maine who became famous in Gettysburg, Joshua Chamberlain, he actually has a handwritten note that's in our Smithsonian archives that he stated that he saw George Washington at Gettysburg. And George Washington is who he accredits to, one, leading the regiment to Gettysburg as they were lost at night on the evening of the 1st. But also, while in battle on July 2nd, he didn't know what to do and turned to his right and saw George Washington standing beside him, and he's who told him to order to fix bayonets or your country is lost.
Right on.
What year did Washington die?
I mean, he died before the 1800s even turned. I think it was 1793. I think.
The ghost of George Washington we're talking about then?
Yeah, the ghost of George Washington, yeah.
Hey, guys,
awesome.
We have about 3 minutes left. We're going to take a 10-minute break. You'll get a second link so we can finish up this interview, and Sage can finish his story. Justin's got some stories. Christian's got some stories. And I believe Phil has some stories. And I'll tell you something, because we got like 2 minutes left. Tim Burchett, he's a congressman. He told Nick Pope, and Tim told TMZ that this congressman received information from a high naval officer that there was a UFO. It was the size of a football field, going 200 miles per hour in the ocean. And he confirmed to Nick Pope before he died that aliens live amongst us. And we've had human contact with extraterrestrials. He told this to Nick Pope. Disclosure happened a couple days ago.
That's incredible.
Yep.
When we get back, Sage was talking about how much you can believe and how much you can't believe. But I got a picture and that back up this other story. My grandfather was a terrible fisherman, and every time he took us as kids, we would never catch a thing. We would go crabbing, and we'd sit on the dock and watch the person to the right and left of us pull up crabs left and right, left and right, left and right. And we would sit right between them and catch nothing, absolutely nothing. And he would always sit and tell us the story about when he was a little kid, he went fishing with his dad and he caught this fish that was bigger than he was in the Hudson River. Now, growing up, we would see pictures in the news of the Hudson River catching fire. It was so polluted. So we thought, there's no way, this has to be a fish story. You'd never catch anything but an old tire in the Hudson River. And so went to his funeral in 1996, and his sister was there, and she gave us a whole bunch of pictures from when he was a little boy. And sure enough, in those pictures, it's a little tiny picture I have in the living room of him as a little boy, couldn't have been more than 6 years old, and he's holding a fish that's bigger than he is. So sometimes those fish stories are true.
Sometimes, yep. 100%.
You never know what to believe with the older generations.
That was a good one. Oh, man. Yeah, so we'll get back to Christian. Sage, let's Sage finish the story. And Justin's going to tell us some of the best movies out there and some of the best TV shows. So let's see.
I know Phil's excited to tell us about his when he went the premiere of the second part of Wicked.
Oh yeah.
Oh, can we shit on Wicked for the next half hour?
That dropped, and I know he's wanting to talk about that.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
gonna be
Oh my
fun.
God.
You want to talk
Yeah.
about Melonhead?
Oh yeah.
Ah,
All right, 2 seconds.
okay.
Hey, hey,
Go.
good. Let's go.
So
Oh, yeah.
there's the fish.
Oh,
Oh,
there we
yeah.
go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Some fish stories are true.
Some.
Hey,
This is
just
good.
real quick. In 1976, I was Fort Hood, Texas, and at Fort Hood, Texas, I was with Second AD Hell on Wheels, and guess who was supervising Second AD Hell on Wheels? General Patton Jr., General Patton's son.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And there was one time in formation, he came up and he stopped right in front of me and he looked at my boots and he says, did you shine those with a Hershey bar? I, I was I was pouring down sweat. And then when I was out in the field, I got bitten by a spider, so my hand swelled up. So I was in the hospital, and here comes General Patton, and he's talking to all these people who got hurt in training. And I say, and I was telling the doctor, I said, get me out of here because just like his father, he's going to wind up
You can
slapping.
slap the hell out of you.
That shit was so funny. That movie was one of the like George Patton playing that. That shit was so good, man.
And also, too,
George C. Scott.
and he had a son-in-law called the Bionic Colonel. The guy would run backwards. Yeah,
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
the Bionic Colonel.
yeah, the Bionic Colonel. But anyway, enough of that. Sage,
Just say,
I'll let you go ahead and finish your story, and then we'll move on to Christian.
Justin.
All right. So the only reason I brought up Gettysburg is the main topic I want to talk about with Gettysburg and where I live here in Pittsburgh. For any of you that know the Battle of Gettysburg, you may know the man Dan Sickles. Dan Sickles is one of my favorite historical figures. He's interesting. He's a little out there. Some may know him because he was in Congress. Some may know him as a lawyer. Some may know him as just the Union Third Corps General at Gettysburg. But one funny thing about him is he's also the first person that's noted to get off of murder by plea of temporary insanity. In Washington, D.C., prior to the Civil War, he actually murdered Francis Scott Key's son in broad daylight. And the crazy thing about it is the Francis Scott Key's kid was actually more or less sleeping with his wife behind his back, and he found out and met him in broad daylight with 2 loaded derringers and a loaded revolver and put an end to that. And he was proud of it. He paraded around about it, boasted about it. And since he was an attorney at the time, the law saw him as a prominent figure, and he was able to plead as non guilty due to insanity, and he got off of murder. So thought that was kind of interesting. Then you fast forward, I think about 10 years after that, the American Civil War breaks out, and he was expecting to join the ranks just like any man, did in that time period, expecting to fight for their country. He was expecting to go in as a foot soldier. Instead, he got a commission as a general since he was a prominent politician. And fast forward to 1863, he leads his corps way ahead of the Union Army and ends up getting his leg blown off with a cannonball, which that leg is actually on display in the Smithsonian because it was preserved. And then Dan Sickles is also, and he's very credited with making Gettysburg what it is today, as he was the one that helped, memorialize Gettysburg. And I don't know if you guys know this or not. The Gettysburg battlefield is actually the very first battlefield to be preserved in America, and it to be brought back to its glory, how it was back then. So I always thought that was interesting that all in a full circle moment goes back to Dan Sickles. And then the tie with him to Pittsburgh here is the Soldiers and Sailors Museum I spoke about before. That was as what we would know today as a VFW back in the day. The museum was actually built by veterans of the Union Army, known as the Grand Army of the Republic. And that building was actually their post for the Pittsburgh, southwestern Pennsylvania area veterans. And these Civil War veterans are who built this building and made it their grounds to where they would have meetings, they would have reunions, what have you. And sometime after the Civil War, late 1800s, early 1900s, they had a Medal of Honor memorial happen there, basically honoring several Medal of Honor recipients from the Civil War, Gettysburg, what have you. And they brought in a couple out of state special guests that also were awarded the Medal of Honor. One of which was Joshua Chamberlain, who became famous at Gettysburg, went on to become a general, wounded at Cold Harbor, served in Congress in Maine. He's a very prominent figure. And the part that kills me and cracks me up was the other guest of honor was no other than Dan Sickles. And when I heard that
How
story,
about
I was
that?
like, there's no way Dan Sickles was here. But sure enough, in the room at the stage, that's also known as their Gettysburg room, there's a picture hanging on the wall of all 10 men standing on that stage. And would you not believe, there's Mr. One-Legged Dan Sickles standing right there in the middle of the stage. And
I heard about that
I just
leg.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yep, I could
I
not
heard
believe
about
it. I was
that
like,
leg over at the Smithsonian. Yeah.
Yep.
And I bet you I know somebody who would love to go to be where you're at, and that would be Christian Apple.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you that museum is top notch. I've been to several really astounding Civil War, museums. Both in the South, with Confederate stuff. Up here in the North, the whole bunch of just everything. But the soldiers and sailors, they start at the Civil War, and it goes all the way up to the Gulf War. Just stuff that's been donated basically from veterans families, what have you. And they have a war log from Chickamauga that is quite literally half a tree trunk that's just riddled with bullets and even cannonball pieces. And it's all preserved. And they have countless amount of artifacts. And just to know the fact that that was all funded and built by members of the Grand Army of the Republic, it blows my mind.
What I loved is reading Civil War diaries.
Yes.
And over here we have the California State Library, and I actually went through some diaries from Civil War soldiers, and it's very interesting. Oh, and there was one diary that I was reading, and it was a woman who was writing this diary, and she was in love with the Pony Express writer. She goes, I see him on his horse and he looks so elegant. And I'm going, oh man.
Oh man. Yeah.
Did you read the good book, Paul?
Huh?
When I was in the Marine Corps, we had what we called the good book, which was a book that had every Medal of Honor recipient for all services, and it showed everything that they did to win the Medal of Honor. And so it was one of those oorah things that the company commanders would read to us, and then we got to read on our own. And some of those things, I mean, some of the more famous ones like Audie Murphy and whatnot, but some of them were pretty obscure. In the Marine Corps, we're always taught about Dan Daly and Smedley Butler, because those are the two Marines that won 2 Medal of Honors each for 2 separate incidents. But most are awarded posthumously, meaning after, they died in order to get them type thing. But some of the things that these guys did in order to receive that medal, it's just beyond belief. It doesn't seem like superhuman type things. You read what Audie Murphy did, and Audie Murphy was like 5'2", 5 foot nothing, 125, 130 pounds. And took out a couple of tanks by himself.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
That's my size.
Yeah, and the good book was read to our 11 Bravos infantry and to 101st Airborne and 82nd Airborne Screaming Eagles.
Wow.
It was insane. I remember one in particular. I don't remember the guy's name of the recipient, but this guy crawled across enemy lines at night, jumped into the German trenches, killed 3 or 4 Germans, captured a couple of other Germans, brought them back across enemy lines through gunfire as prisoners on his own, and then went back for more.
They made a movie on him.
That is insane.
It's then you think about the Sergeant York stories and these other things, and it's like these guys were just larger than life. There's that corpsman, that Navy corpsman that did, or was he an Army corpsman? The guy who wouldn't carry a weapon and he kept climbing a cliff
Desmond
and
Doss.
bringing guys back, climbing a cliff and bringing guys back.
Yeah. They made a movie on that guy. Oh,
Yeah, Desmond Doss. That guy. See the movie. I love the movie. Don't get me wrong, but especially when I learned of how Hollywood the movie in the scene, I looked it up to see what the real Hacksaw Ridge looked like, and then I compared it to the movie, and I just went, "Holy shit, this guy did that!" Because like in the movie, they make it look like, okay, I could see how that was done. That's somewhat doable for any man that's determined. And then you look up the real Hacksaw Ridge, and then your jaw just drops, and you go, "How did he do that?"
Yeah, you're talking about Elvin York. Yeah, you're talking about Elvin York.
York was the one from World War One. No,
Phil, it was Elvin York.
Sergeant York was World War One, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, you're talking about somebody else, right? Sage?
I was talking about Desmond Doss.
Desmond Doss.
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's two different incidents. Sergeant York was the pacifist that then rose to the occasion. Desmond Doss was as well, but Desmond Doss chose not to carry a weapon, just became an army medic instead, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar stories, but the medic, he was the one who ended up climbing those cliffs, right?
Yes.
That cliff, back and forth, and carrying guys on his shoulder down through it. Yeah, just the physical ability to do something like that seems like something out of a SEAL training or a CrossFit competition or something. From hell. You don't even think it's humanly possible, even let alone doing that under fire.
And how many times? What he did, like 13 times or something like that?
Yeah, and it was like at night under fire. It just seems superhuman. Like it doesn't seem like it was truly a superhero feat. Just amazing.
Absolutely.
But what the human body can do. There's you ever watch Top Gear? There's a guy named Jeremy Clarkson used to host the British Top Gear, and he used to do war stories on the British, the Victorian Cross. Is that their medal of honor? Yeah, he did one on his father-in-law's Victorian Cross because his wife's father won the Victorian Cross, and what that guy did, and that guy was like a humble school teacher who grew up in the Isle of Man type thing, and that guy under fire saw the rest of his platoon almost decimated and snapped. Like something snapped in him, and he went on, had his pants blown off, was literally running around naked, slaughtering Germans. Killed 20, 30 guys almost barehanded, buck naked, and deaf because, he had been blown up, shot in one leg, spurting blood, naked, thing hanging out, wanker hanging out, the whole friggin' thing, and just decimating these Germans like that. Must have been a terrifying sight. But you think when somebody really snaps and loses it like that, and what a human being is capable of, it's amazing and terrifying.
Absolutely. I mean, those stories come from every battlefield, obviously. But if you're bored, look at the Medal of Honor recipients from the Battle of Gettysburg, and it will blow your mind of what some of these people did because they're half my age, even, and I'm still pretty young. And the one famous story, I can't, his name's slipping my mind, but he was in charge of a battery during Pickett's charge, and he was severely wounded, had basically his guts hanging out of him, and he refused to leave his gun until the battle ended, and while he was already wounded and holding his intestines in and commanding his gun with the other hand, he was then directly hit and blown up, and his men were inspired by his actions that they just stayed on the gun and kept firing until they fired their last shot, and that was when they finally retired because they knew that that's what their commander wanted. And mind you, he was like fourth in line in command because battles rage like that, people fall, and next it's in some young corporal's hands, and he rose to the occasion and ended up getting the Medal of Honor for it many years later. It's
Amazing.
absolutely incredible.
Amazing. Hey, let's move on to Christian Apple. Yeah, what's been happening with you? You heard Sage's story. I know you've done some Civil War stuff too.
Yeah, I have. First off, I want to just say thank you for letting me be a guest amongst great people here. Um, and Zandine, I really liked your story about the faith healer. It was great. And Sage, yeah, thanks for sharing all that Civil War stuff. It's really cool that you live in Pennsylvania, in the heart of where a lot of that stuff took place.
Mm-hmm.
I was the boy here from California who just has people that came here to farm or do gold mining and stuff. And so when I go to cemeteries, I always look for the Civil War graves because those are the ones that I find to be the most interesting. And I take a picture of their grave and I'll go home and I'll see if I can find any newspaper articles about who they are and what they did. And I'm fascinated with just these people putting their life on the line for better things, like anyone who goes to war, whether they want to do it or not. And so I have family that lives in, my dad's side of the family's from Wilkes-Barre, but I think I was told growing up it was pronounced Wilkes-Barre, so I guess it's a dialect thing. But someday I'd like to get out there. I want to see the graves of my family members and eventually go to Harrisburg because I hear you guys have a Civil War museum. And then I like to spend a whole week in Gettysburg, just going to every cemetery, maybe walking the battlefield, just soaking it up because, most likely never going to get to do that ever again. So, so I envy people like you that get to go out and do that kind of stuff. I think that's just such a huge, amazing part of American history that I think people just forget about. And I'm enamored with the Grand Army of the Republic and everything they've done for society. So whenever I go to a cemetery, like here in Sacramento, we have the Old City Cemetery, and they have a guard section of the cemetery with a statue of a Union soldier that's from like 1880s, and it's like still standing. And even with all the social unrest during the summer of 2020, no one went to the cemetery to knock it down. So it's just really cool to see history still being preserved, even here in California, having to do with people's respect for the Civil War. Anyways, this lately I've just basically just been doing a lot of Pony Express research here in California, and I'm hoping that possibly by fall I'll have a whole presentation, like my own little documentary about the Pony Express here in California. Trying to go locate every single stage stop and trying to locate as many Pony Express grave sites. So far I've only found the grave of Warren Upson, who carried the mail from Sportsman's Hall in Pollock Pines to the state line, and he had to deliver the mail in a blizzard. So he was a very experienced horse rider, and just so to find his grave at the city cemetery was pretty cool. Just Paul, I love cemeteries. I love to connect, the history of California, and then visiting these people's grave sites and knowing their history and what they did. They were just normal people living their lives, never realizing that they were going to be part of history or folklore and this and that. So that's something I'm currently working on is, like I said, just basically researching the history of the Pony Express in California.
I lived on Pony Express right by Sportsman Hall, ironically.
Really?
In Pollock Pines, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a cool place.
Right by the Best Western, yeah. They told me the history, like I didn't know that much, like what you just said, but I mean, I knew that it was a real trail that they used to ride horses on, but as far as when you said about the snow and different stuff, tell me about the snow and like what they have to do.
So we just came up to here on April 3rd was the 166th anniversary of the Pony Express, and they left St. Joseph's, Missouri, and then William Hamilton. Sam was his nickname, and they were basically riding to meet, and then go back to where they came from. So Sam left Sacramento. And headed to the Sportsman's Hall, and every 5 to 10 miles he would basically switch out the horses, and he only had 2 minutes to do it. So you basically take the satchel off and put on another pony and ride off. And so it took him
Wow.
about like 23 hours to get to not Cameron Park, Pug Pines.
It's
And
amazing.
so from there, he met up with Warren Upson. And then from there, Warren Upson met up with, I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, in the Nevada state line. I think it's like Carson
Okay.
City. So, yeah, it was raining when it was raining. It started to rain when William Hamilton was like on his way towards Pollock Pines, and then when it traded out with with Warren Upson, it was raining. But then as he started to head up towards the Sierras, it started to snow, and so he just kept going. And then at some point, the snow was getting to be too high, so he had to get off the horse and basically walk the horse through through the canyons in a snow blizzard, and basically in a blizzard. And there were people like nearby, like with I forget what they were called, but they had like dogs, like a sled team to help guide him, but he didn't want their help, and so he did it himself. And I don't know, I just think it's crazy to me to be. I mean, he was like 20 something, like 25, I think it was when he did that. Still a young guy, just absolute daredevil. And
That's rough terrain, man. I mean, even today, even if you have 4x4s, like actually, I know a kid. Ironically, I know a kid that got stuck at the end of Pollock Pines Pony Express today when a 4x4. But it's more, he came down from Sly Park. But anyway,
I just want
no. So
about the Sportsman's Hall that's crucial to the California history. It was there is where we got the information of Abraham Lincoln's inauguration and also his assassination. That is where the West found out about his assassination. Was brought by Pony Express.
Have you eaten there? It's a restaurant right now.
Yeah.
Today it's a restaurant, but I didn't know it was real historic. I didn't know it was real historic, but it's got good food, man. But I didn't know that it was for real. Wow.
Yeah, it's good place.
Christian, do you ever go to the California State Library? Because they got a lot of stuff on the Pony Express over there, including that diary from that girl that had a crush on one of the Pony Express riders.
Okay. I haven't been to the State Library yet, or downstairs in the California room or the Sacramento room, but eventually.
Yeah, they oh my God, they have all these diaries there. I mean, those are fascinating. I love that because I used to keep a diary. And then I used to work with the Secretary of State, and I went into their archives. They opened up a safe and allowed me to hold the gun of Sirhan Sirhan.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's
it's worth a trip, Christian. It's a Carnegie library. So you got to make a trip there. You got to see the Sacramento room, especially being, I mean, you're a historian. You got to do it.
Yeah, you got to
do it. Yeah.
You even have to go to the Center of Sacramento History, which is downtown by I forget.
Tiny little building. That you got to make an appointment. Make sure you find their open hours and make an appointment with that one. But the Sacramento room is a lot prettier, a lot grander. That's a visit.
Wow. And not only that, the California State Library is haunted. They said that there's a ghost of an old man who has glasses, and he's like looking through a book. And a lot of the employees and some of the people who visit have actually seen this ghost.
Sign me up. I'm coming to California.
Yeah, you got to say he's probably going back to your hometown, and you're coming out here. You guys probably got to link up, man.
You would dig it, Sage, especially if you do come to Sacramento. If you do go to Sacramento, Sage, go to Old Sacramento and visit the Train Museum. That is a must see. It's one of the best museums, I think, in all of California, anyway. You've got to see that. And Reagan, of all people, had a lot to do with that being put in place. And make sure you see the Delta King too, or the river.
Oh yeah, the Delta King. Yeah, very haunted. And Sage also too. My sister Sharon and her husband Don Kruger, they live in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So, yeah. And I forget what town, but they didn't like it because they said it's too cold. So they're moving to Lady Lake, Florida.
So that sounds like Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I thought that
Terrible.
Pittsburgh. That's about it. Christian, real quick, on Pony Express, I only know about the part that goes down towards, back towards Sacramento. But as you go to the top of Pony Express in Pollock Pines, now it's like pretty much blocked off after you go a certain way. I wonder what the trail was like, because it's like a mystery. I don't know any. It's no. I mean, they got old roads probably, but nothing that you can take a car on right now.
The 10-mile
Yeah.
house, right?
I
Or
mean,
the 8-mile house.
there's a trail, the Pony Express Trail, that
Yeah.
that you can get off of a freeway, and then you can take, and it's part of it is the original trail, and some of it, other parts of that that they know of by records, like are not
Yeah.
accessible by car. So I mean, the idea is just to kind of go and travel to all the stops and document them, and I've started doing it. It's just it's going to be kind of jumbled up because of the seasons, and
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's cool.
And what's interesting, Zandine, is there's Del Paso Boulevard. If you take Del Paso Boulevard out, that was the old stagecoach road out to the mines.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So that's how old that road is. Way before it was paved, that was the stagecoach road, and that was the road in from Emigrant Gap. So all the settlers that came in and had to dismantle their wagons piece by piece and haul them over the mountain and put them back together on the other side, came up what is now Del Paso Boulevard and then crossed over the river at that north point. And when people died back then, they buried them in the road so that the wagons would beat down the graves so the animals wouldn't dig up the graves. So there's a lot of bodies in that road.
Hey, we did an investigation, a paranormal investigation in Loomis, California at this ranch. And at the ranch right in front was the Wells Fargo Express a stop. And they also too had these huge rocks where you could see that the Native Americans dug like little bowls or holes into the rocks.
Grinding rocks.
Or acorn. Yeah, acorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting investigation.
See, it's pretty crazy. Sorry, how similar you guys were saying about how you have the original road still intact, from way back when. We have very similar to an aspect here in southwestern Pennsylvania with Native American, movement, especially during the French and Indian War and prior to the Revolution and those engagements out here near Fort Necessity. There's a lot of historic trails that are marked that were the original trails taken by both sides in and around the battles. And Route 30 out towards Gettysburg is called Lincoln Highway, and memorialization is that was the exact same route that the Army of the Potomac took to Gettysburg. And just there's like certain roads that are memorialized in certain aspects of that way, that even though they're paved highways today, that is still the exact same road that was taken 160 odd years ago, sometimes even 200 years ago.
We have that here in California in El Dorado County. There's a part of Highway 49 where not only is it the original pathway of the Lincoln Highway, but it's also the Pony Express route, and it's also the route that the settlers took in the California.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Wow.
And Del Paso Boulevard is also part of the Lincoln Highway. That's the first coast-to-coast road. What they did was they linked together existing roads to make the first coast-to-coast highway. Then there's markers all over it. It's pretty cool.
Hey, you guys, listen. Man, time is going by so fast. We have 7 minutes left. Justin Beltramo hasn't talked yet. Justin, what's been going on with the TV? Is there any good TV shows for me to watch? Any good movies? What's going on?
I haven't been really watching much, but just working. It's busy time of the year for my work. But one show we did watch is that new one on Netflix that the wife and I, is that something very bad is going to happen.
Oh yeah, is that good?
Yeah. It's a psychological curse about a curse, but other than that.
And you still haven't watched The Beauty?
Nope.
Oh my!
I'm telling you, now that it's getting warm, when I'm not at work, I'm at the river. I'm fishing. So,
okay. All
respect.
right.
Yeah,
So
no, I'm if I'm not here in the house, I'm in Clarksburg, right up the road and fishing, and then deer season's coming soon, so I'll be out doing that.
and you know something, Justin, if I was still working for Department of Fish and Wildlife, you'd be buying those licenses from me.
I I just paid $80 for a damn fishing license. I had to renew my $80 up here. It's
Yeah,
60,
it's expensive.
yeah, it's 60 for the license and then 20 for an additional pull.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and then the hunting one is a couple hundred, but I just got to renew that.
And where did you get your license at?
I just did it online through CDFW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did it all through CDFW. So I have it
Okay.
all. It's all online now on my phone. I mean, you
Do
can
you all
still go.
have different licensings for different seasons, like trout and what have you?
Yeah.
Up here for trout, bass, anything like that, that's all on the same tag. If you
Okay.
want like salmon, sturgeon, you got to get a tag. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But like I said, up here at the Sacramento River, I mean, you got in there, you got trout, you got stripers, you got bass, you got crappies, you got obviously catfish. I mean, you got everything up there down there, and then the salmon do run through there too. But you got to have a tag, and during the time of the year, I'll get a tag for that. Yeah, I'll get a tag. But yeah, I'm kind of behind, like I said, on movies and stuff. It's just working, taking care of my health, and fishing. Yeah.
Good.
Let's see, the movie. Yeah, I'm like I said, we're behind on movies. That last show was pretty good.
I just saw a good movie on Tubi. It was called Your Next, and the movie was made in oh God, I think it was made in Germany, but it's really good.
Okay, I watched it pretty good on. I think it's Netflix. It's called War Machines.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Yeah,
I wish they make more stuff like that.
That was really good. I liked the first half of the soldier story, and then it kind of got into the alien robot. It's an alien robot.
Yeah. Man.
It's kind of like the second half is kind of like if you remember the movie Battleship with Rihanna, where they're out, they're
yeah.
exercises in the middle of the ocean, and the spaceships come down. But
yeah.
That one was good. But yeah, no, War Machines was really good. Yeah, no, like I said, I'm behind.
Yeah, I wanted more like that. After when I saw that, I was like searching. You got more like this, but it wasn't nothing, like comparable.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm just busy at work. I've been pulled, like I said, busy time of the year. It's for us. It's getting ready for outdoor season. So
yeah. Speaking of that, anything you excited about? Anything new? Anything you could talk about? Anything you excited about?
I could talk about anything. Yeah, we got some new strains coming. Great, this one called Gravy. Man, you still smell it in your nose after 2 days, and I don't know if Sage and Christian don't know. I work in cultivation, so I'm a indoor marijuana facility.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all legit. It's all legal.
It's
the big companies out here like cookies, the cookies and colas, they buy from us. They buy in turkey bag. They buy in bulk, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, and they sell it and whatever they want. So Sacramento is smoking whatever I grow.
Hey,
That's incredible.
Guys, who we forgot to talk to? Phil. Phil, you got anything going on?
Oh yeah, Wicked.
I've been talking the whole time. Yeah, Wicked for good.
Yeah, for good. I haven't watched it yet though, but
about that gravy, man. About that gravy.
We only got 2 minutes left. It's tonight. Is like what? Isn't this tonight the deadline for? We're gonna start hitting Iran's infrastructure.
Yeah, supposedly.
I thought it was last night. Was it tonight? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's been on my mind.
I heard the leader's unconscious.
Yeah.
I heard the leader's unconscious or whatever. They just said that. I don't know what
we've been taking out how many other leaders? I don't know. That's been on my mind because my son's in Saudi Arabia and he's been in a bunker for the past 36 days.
Damn.
So eating MREs, but I'm proud of him. It's he's now a combat veteran, so I mean it is what it is. That's what you sign up for. That's part of the adventure.
He's doing that so we can do this.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about it. And been trying to get parts to do the brakes on my Jeepster. It's been on blocks for the past 2 weeks, and every time I take another piece off, I realize I need to order something else for it. So hopefully, I'll get it back on the ground soon.
Yeah, I got to get some battery cables for my car tomorrow.
Oh,
It-
your car.
it- well, every time in the morning, I have a hard time getting it started, and then after I drive it for
We're
a
talking
while,
about your car, right?
huh? Yeah.
You got to call
Okay,
Vivica Fox and Ice-T on Car Shield. You better call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iced tea. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This was a really, really good show. It was very informative.
Yeah.
Everybody got something to say.
Yeah. Fun
Good stuff.
episode. Thanks for joining, everybody. It's good seeing you again, Justin. Good seeing you,
Oh, yeah,
Christian.
you too. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
right on for
Sage.
the update,
Yes, sir.
Justin.
We'll have to
and
do it
Sage.
again. We'll have to
Christian
do
and
it.
Sage, as usual, you guys are very on it, detail orientated. I appreciate that, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, good night, fellas.
Good night.
Good night.